What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we're back with some more Destiny 2 topics to round up and discuss as we're just days away from Forsaken launching itself. I wanted to talk about some new vendors that are going to be arriving soon in the game, and some new loot rewards, some quests and mysteries that are involved with them. We've also got a bunch of new exotics and even a PlayStation exclusive one with all the other exclusive loot that comes bundled with that. Of course, the Gambit 24-hour trial also went live and probably still is live by the time you're watching this, but want to go over some info regarding that and some of my essential tips for the mode itself you probably didn't know about. And as always, we'll be rounding up some miscellaneous bits of news and info from all around the internet all throughout this video. So of course, if you enjoy it, a like rating is much appreciated, help support the channel, and let's get into it. So let's talk about some vendor stuff and some characters and pretty interesting quest lines and loot we're going to be interacting with in, of course, Forsaken. The first thing is a really strange vendor you guys probably recognize from a video I made probably a month or two ago. This character called Yuna, who is actually going to be a vendor, it seems, in Forsaken for our version of Destiny. The reason I say our version of Destiny is, of course, this character Yuna, she's supposed to be a new vendor, the kind of Eververse equivalent in the Korean version of Destiny called Destiny Guardians. I covered it back in the initial video where I mentioned this topic, but of course Korea doesn't have Destiny or Destiny 2, so this Destiny Guardians is their version. And it's also launching, I believe, a day after Forsaken, so September 5th. So I mentioned how this character Yuna is a vendor, of course, in Destiny Guardians, that separate game, but now also seems she's going to be in Forsaken as a vendor for us as well. So she is currently listed publicly in the game for everyone to see as a vendor, just like all the others. So she has a description. It says that once lost in space, Yuna is eager to support Guardians through the Mugunghwa Legion, which appears to be her clan or faction or her kind of group. This group is also listed in the game as a new faction, so it says the Mugunghwa Legion, an exclusive gathering of merchants that provide support to membership Guardians. There is also a new quest in the game just for this one vendor, and the quest name is the Legion's Calling, which is a legendary quest, and the only one step is speak with Yuna. Yuna from the Mugunghwa Legion wishes to meet you. Find her in the bazaar, which is obviously the tower. Now, looking at her inventory and the items tied to her is where things get a bit more interesting, because these are all basic exotic items. Obviously, it's hard to tell completely what this all means and come to conclusions, but these are all items that are tied to her, or you can get from her inventory, or she sells in some way or form. So you've got all the Hunter exotic armor pieces, the Warlock ones, the Titan ones, most exotic weapons in the game, including the new ones, of course, with Forsaken. On top of that, though, you've got 3 more items listed under her as quest items. So firstly is Prometheus Lens, secondly is Hate's Judgment and Ornament for the Prometheus Lens, and thirdly is the Emblem of Hibiscus. Now, back in the early images for the Destiny Guardians kind of promo, we did see Prometheus Lens with an ornament. So it's safe to assume that this is that ornament and we can actually get it in-game. It's not a Korea exclusive. It does get even more strange, though. There is actually a sandbox perk, or what you would see on the bottom of your screen, as a character buff listed as Mugunghwa Legion. So I'm not sure what this does, but something that would appear in-game on the bottom of your screen. And there is also this icon listed under a record called the Mugunghwa Legion. So clearly a lot of stuff with this character and this vendor. Like I said, it is a very confusing vendor. We're not entirely sure how this is going to work in Forsaken, but that's everything I can find in it. And of course, speculate down below, what do you guys think of this? Now, moving on, but keeping with the same topic of vendors, there is actually a pretty interesting room that you may have noticed or may have ran completely past it, but this is tied to a new vendor we're getting in Forsaken. So if you head to this area of the tower and go through this alleyway, you can actually crouch under this door or slide under it, and you'll reach a little special room under here, which you can tell is obviously Gambit themed. Reason being is because this is actually where the Drifter is going to be located. He is, of course, a vendor in the game, like an official permanent one. This is where he's going to be stationed. You can see this is what he looks like as a vendor. This is his inventory. The background obviously matches, but you got his quest items, pursuits, and loot rewards. It is pretty funny. The quote of this bounty does make a joke or kind of reference to the term a Taken Queen. And obviously, before we knew this DLC would be called Forsaken, the community kind of unofficially called it Taken Queen, because like Destiny 2's Taken King DLC. Definitely a subtle nod there and something I found funny, but either way, this is the Drifter, this is Gambit, and where you're going to find him as a vendor in the tower. Now, I did also want to talk about the Drifter himself as a character who is actually very interesting, and since he's been added with the 24-hour Gambit trial, we learned quite a bit about him. Obviously, we know he is doing something very strange with Taken energy and experiments in his massive ship. We're going to learn about in the Joker's Wild DLC, that's about him. Fun fact, but every time you collect motes inside Gambit, we're actually taking part in helping him with his weird Taken experiment, whatever he's doing. Based on his dialogue, it does also seem that he can use light as a power, but isn't exactly a guardian, so he's kind of like in between, does his own thing pretty much. There's a pretty funny line that I'm sure you've heard, but he does say that he was at Twilight Gap, and so is his grandma apparently, so very, very strange. He also says that he would help us fight the Fallen, but apparently he pawned his Galahorn, so that's a really strange fact, but I would love to know what he traded it for. And one more quote that I did think was very interesting, that I'm sure is going to lead to a lot of speculation, but he does kind of hint or suggest that Saint 14 may not be dead. He said, "No one hated the Fallen more than Saint 14. They say he's dead. I don't buy it." So it's a very, very suggestive quote. Obviously, having these voice lines is a very deliberate process, so someone at Bungie wanted him to say this, and even getting the voice actor to kind of voice these lines. It is definitely a very strange thing to say and put in the game like a year after Curse of Osiris, so it could mean something else or it could mean nothing at all. Technically, the body we saw in the Infinite Forest was the real him, so even though the forest is a simulation, the real Saint 14 did go in there and actually die, so it does count. That's him. There's nothing else and he's really dead. But again, as we know, Bungie are very deliberate with the lore and the kind of storytelling, and especially voice lines like this, so it could mean something else, and it could mean maybe he's alive somewhere or something else happened, some kind of loophole or plot twist, and he may be alive. Again, I'm sure it's going to cause a ton of speculation, but let me know what you think of this down below. Do you think it's something, or maybe it's nothing, it's just a small voice line? Now, in terms of Gambit, I did want to give a bunch of my personal tips and kind of advice and kind of things that I've learned throughout playing it since literally May, since the Bungie event when I first played Gambit. I've been lucky enough to attend a bunch of different events, so E3, GuardianCon, Gamescom, a couple Bungie events, so I've kind of experienced the mode from the beginning and kind of evolve over time as I kind of built it up. So I wanted to kind of run through a bunch of my tips and things that I've learned, and again, this will be useful if you're still playing the kind of trial up until the end, or of course when it launches in a couple of days with Forsaken as well. Firstly, I would say make sure to have one or maybe two dedicated invaders. These are people that are good at PvP, obviously, good at killing other Guardians, and have good PvP weapons. But it's all about not everyone's kind of randomly going through it, making sure a couple people know what they're doing and they're used to it, and they can kind of always be the invader. Of course, you also want to try and coordinate when you send the blockers through and when you send invaders through. So if you do it at the same time, normally when an invader comes through, everyone kind of rushes to the bank, tries to get them before the invader kills them. But if there's a blocker there, obviously they can't do that. So that's why the two go hand in hand. Also, a very important thing that not a lot of people follow is make sure you only invade if you need to, if there's something you can gain from it. The two situations would be if they have a bunch of motes they haven't banked yet that you can kill them for and obviously make them drop it and lose it, or if they're Primeval spawned, they've burned a bunch of heavy, and then you can kill them to make their Primeval get the health back. Once you get a portal up, it will stay there forever, so there's no rush. You don't need to go through ASAP. Just save it until you actually need to go through, like either got a bunch of motes, or there's a Primeval you can heal. Another good strategy is to watch their Primeval health bar. The second they do a bunch of damage, they'll probably just use all their super, all their heavy, that kind of stuff. That's when you go through and kill them, heal their Primeval, and that way they're pretty much out of all their stuff and they're kind of back to square one. When you're invading, you want to look for the enemies with the biggest number in their health. That's the amount of motes they're carrying. Obviously, the more you kill, the better it is because they lose them all. So try and look for some of the 15. That way you do a massive damage to their team. Also, this is just an extra thing, but if you can, try not to kill all four of the enemies. Just kill like the same one over and over again if you can. If you kill one of each, all four of them, then the drift will send you back. Again, that's like an extreme tactic, but if you happen to kill 3 of them, for example, and there's one left, try and leave that one alive, because if you kill him, he'll send you back. Otherwise, though, you can go kill more of his teammates, and it will kind of keep going until the time limit runs out. Now, on the other hand, if you're being invaded, a very important tip I would say is if you've got a bunch of motes and you're kind of very valuable, do not hide and don't sit in a corner and don't wait for the invader to come to you. I know it might seem like it does make sense to hide from the guys trying to kill you, just wait out for him to go back or wait for a teammate to kill him, but the main thing is that he can see how many motes you have and he can see where you are and if you're hiding. If you got 15, they're coming for you anyway, so you might as well go face him. You've got a much better chance. It's just something that I see a lot. Again, people forget the invaders can see through walls, the people being invaded can't. So don't make it difficult. Try and just challenge him and get as much eyes on as possible and call him out where he is and hopefully take him down. In terms of loadouts, the Orpheus rig at Night Stalker tether is still amazing, especially for the Primeval. Just drop it there, tether them all, get your super back. It's so good. Something really interesting though is the Sleeper Simulant. This has somehow become pretty much the best weapon in Gambit because it ticks all the boxes. It's kind of a sniper, but kind of easier to use and easier to aim. It also, of course, one-shots any super and destroys pretty much anything in terms of Guardian, and also, of course, is a very good PvE weapon. The Sleeper is obviously still very good in Crucible, but you never ever see it in Destiny 1 or Destiny 2. But again, for Gambit, it seems to just be the perfect weapon. I've also found the Raiden Flux Arc Strider is amazing for stunning the bosses, so obviously normally he stomps you all the way to Mars, but if you have Raiden Flux in there, keep hitting him, he's stunned, and you basically shotgun away. But yeah, just some Gambit tips and tricks that I learned along the way that hopefully you found helpful. And of course, comment down below how you're getting on. What do you think of Gambit so far? So moving on, Bungie have also revealed the PlayStation exclusive content and what's going to be for an entire year. So you've got 3 new armor sets, one for Hunter, Titan, and Warlock. They look okay, probably the best so far, but I think normally PlayStation exclusive gear isn't the best looking. There's also an exclusive legendary ship called the Great Beyond, which honestly, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't even know if it's new. It looks the exact same as every other one. It's basically a reskin of a very commonly used model, so there's nothing fantastic and definitely not the highlight. Into the more significant content though is firstly the strike called Broodhold. Delve into the depths of the Tangled Shore and eradicate a troublesome hive infestation. Fight through a crashed hive tomb ship teeming with thralls, acolytes, and knights until you face the Hive Brood Queen. Also, it's not Savathun, by the way, it's just a random Hive Brood Queen, but some kind of important Hive figure nonetheless. It says the Hive Brood Queen is going to alternate between physical and shadow form, employing different abilities in each state. Keep moving to avoid being poisoned. There's some new gameplay on the official PlayStation channel, but of course the most important thing is the new exclusive exotic called the Wave Splitter. This is the Trace Rifle. It says the weapon has 3 power levels that oscillate while the trigger is held down. This is communicated via various indicators, laser thickness, sound effects, and a meter on the weapon. You can also overpower the weapon and make it do maximum damage if you pick up an orb of light, so it gives you a short time of maximum kind of damage. Either way, I wouldn't really worry about it being crazily overpowered. They do say it's good, but I don't think it's going to be a very good weapon. The reason I say that is because Bungie pretty much know they can't make a PlayStation exclusive exotic be one of the best weapons in the game, so normally they're pretty kind of average. I feel like Bungie knows how to kind of balance the PlayStation exclusives to not crazy good and kind of make the other platforms feel like they're missing out, but either way, it's going to be good, but I'm sure nothing crazy. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Of course, if you did, a like rating is always massively appreciated to help support the channel. We are just days away from Forsaken, so of course I'm going to have a ton of content right here on this channel, so if you're not already, make sure you are subscribed to not miss out. You can, of course, follow my Instagram and Twitter down below in the description, and if you want to watch another video from myself, click this image on screen right now. But as always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.